there has been a lot of discussion in the NLP community and also a lot of marketing of NLP type products, NLP type seminars that utilize the term personal power. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about personal power. And I'm going to shift the discussion a bit because when we're speaking of power in a modern social and economic structure like we're in, we're really talking about access to powerful information or empowering information. So today, someone who is powerful, who has a great deal of power to change his or her circumstances, change his environment, modify the organization, amass a great deal of wealth, determine the outcome of life projects, this person is going to have superior information, and this person is going to have superior information sooner than anyone else. So there are a couple of factors here. One is the information you have is valuable. It is highly valuable to other people, and you know it sooner. You're sooner on the timeline, quicker to it. And that's why people who've made fortunes, and we're talking about major fortunes, substantial fortunes, on new technology, which is really new technology and new culture combined type adventures and ventures like Jeff Bezos with Amazon, who, by the way, became a very, very early venture capitalist behind Google. So the guy that created his world with Amazon also put $250,000 in as seed capital to found Google. So Bezos has clearly got his fingers at the earliest point on the timeline. Bezos got into the Google stream. So where does this fit with NLP, and where does this fit with what is being taught as NLP and how people utilize this knowledge? I would strongly suggest that when you're talking about personal power, we should move away from simply this the secret type thinking. I believe that that's a severe error of thought and a potentially dangerous misstep. And I think we have to move much more toward the area and the interest of information gathering, how you gather information, where you gather information, how you sort out and refine that information, so you can develop models of the world that precede other people's having those models of the world. You could be anybody. You could look like anything. The more valuable your information is, the more valuable you are, and the more powerful you're going to be. The more ordinary and commonplace and repetitious and unexciting and, cliched your knowledge and statements are about the world, and the less you really know about things, the less powerful you're going to be. So more and more and more, it's always been the case. Francis Bacon said this hundreds of years ago, but knowledge is power. Knowledge is a great deal of power, and high quality knowledge is increasingly more power. Thus, the conclusion is that as skillful and intelligent practitioners of this art, one of the things we should be focusing on very strongly, is information gathering skills, and then we should have information testing skills, information consolidating skills. How do we go out, pick up on all this information that's going on out there, find the most useful pieces of that information, assemble that into a model or a frame which is new, which is something which takes us ahead of the curve? How do we package that information? How do we deliver it? How do we explain it? Can those mental arts which distinguish the very top venture capitalists, the very top hedge fund managers, the very top private equity people, the people who are really designing the futures on the fly continuously for us, and there are such people. If we're talking about modeling and what we should be modeling, how we're going to model it, who we're going to model, those are the people. And those are the processes, and those are the social processes and the mental processes that we should be getting a grip on. And that's where you find access to real power, if you have that kind of knowledge and you can consistently deliver that kind of refinement of your understanding of the world that takes other people ahead of the curve, you will be a powerful person. You will be a sought-after person. People will very rapidly become aware of you, and people will very rapidly want to integrate you into their systems of doing things. People will give you large sums of money, and they will expect you to bring them the fruits of those investments. So that's why I would say let us move away from mystification, let us move away from magical thinking. I think a very powerful imagination is important, and a very powerful sort of capacity to generate potential futures and possible futures is absolutely important. That kind of free, liberated, creative, almost whimsical kind of mind, yes, is very important, but I would distinguish that very carefully and very specifically from hopeful thinking, wishful thinking, compensatory thinking, magical thinking, being lost in fantasy loops that just leave you going round and round with no real deep level of development. It's a different kind of process. What is that distinction? How do we make that distinction? How do we strengthen that distinction? So these are questions that not only should we be individually asking ourselves, we should be asking our trainers, we should be asking the entire NLP, I guess you would call it sort of the paradigm, is how is this getting us out of that kind of Freudian, deep, unresolved, circular, solipsistic, loopy, hopey-wishy, to use Sarah Palin's, how's that hopey-changey thing working for you, kind of thinking, toward a much more linear, productive, change-capturing, value-delivering kind of thinking. And it's a huge distinction between those two forms of thought, although they may have some similarities. So I will park this here, and you may take that on, listen to that, think about where that might lead you. But this is really the reality function, and I think Freud talked about the distinction between the pleasure principle that drew people back into this sort of perpetual world of dreams, fantasies, hopes, unrealities, escapism, yes, lots of escapism, and the reality principle toward a clear embrace and a clear confrontation with and a clear engagement. I think the term is a clear engagement with the real world on its own terms. So, okay. Think about that a lot.